Can we talk a little bit more about what those challenges are? I'm sure there are a handful of things that you
Yep.
see that are very recurring for a lot of people, whether it's, weekends, whether it's, lack of weekends. I know it's a big one. You talk about weekends, alcohol, et cetera. What are the things that you see come up the most often that prevent people from being successful, both short and long term?
I think one of the biggest thing is people really have no clue how much they eat. So that's why I like when people track because it makes it real. It's like food budgeting. You can't say you don't spend money when you look at your bank account and it says there's $0. Obviously, there's some money being spent. Just like people who tend to say, well, I eat really well. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I'm broken. And then we say, well, let's track and let's see what's going on. And then you start to see it is the weekends. It is the constant snacking and mindless eating. It is the alcohol. Maybe it's as silly as the coffee every morning. To me, coffee's like black coffee. To other people, it might be the equivalent of cupcake ingredients in a coffee.
With
You know,
just a little
these
bit of caffeine to call it coffee.
right. It's delicious. Don't get me wrong, but like my my father-in-law, it's funny. If he doesn't sit down, he doesn't really count it as a meal. So he's like, Bob is like, oh, I don't even eat anything. I'm like, Bob, you just crushed a cupcake while you were standing. That counts, right? All these calories count whether you recognize them or not. So the biggest thing that we can do for people is identify where these little like snack accidents are happening, right? These little calorie bombs that might not be made aware otherwise.
It's funny. I always joke that on initial client consultations, when I get on the phone with somebody who typically has a weight loss goal,
Mhm.
maybe 5% of the people actually, quote unquote, admit to eating poorly. The other 95%, they always insist, I eat pretty healthy most of the time. I eat really good. I don't know why I'm not losing weight. I'm like, that's cool. Have you ever heard of a calorie deficit? Are you familiar with how much you eat? Well, no, but I do eat pretty healthy. I'm like, all right, well, we might want to start there before we do anything else.
Yeah. Healthy doesn't really have a number, it's and I always say this because when someone like if I'm like, oh, what does a typical day look like? It's always like yogurt, eggs, fruit, a salad for lunch, a lean meat and a vegetable. Okay, so why isn't it working? Because that sounds like 950 calories to me. That sounds like your body would literally be starving and you would wither away. So where's the other stuff? Why do you only share the highlight reel? This isn't Instagram. Tell me everything. Treat us as like the food priest, right? This is confession. Sit down, open up. We're not going to judge. We're just going to help you fix it. And when someone just says, I eat chicken and yogurt, well, then it would work because a starving mammal loses weight. This starvation mode thing. It's not because you don't eat enough. It's because you might eat a little bit more and we have to identify that. It doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes you a product of this wacky food environment that no one can really get a hold on unless they pay close attention. And that's